My name is Ava. I'm 32. At 7:42 a.m. on a Thursday morning in late September, I was standing in my own kitchen in Riverside Heights, holding a $15 million wire confirmation receipt, while my husband Daniel screamed 6 inches from my face that we were going bankrupt and I needed to beg my dying mother for a $1.98 million loan or we'd lose everything. You're not listening. Daniel's fist slammed the marble counter. Coffee jumped in my mug. The company's bleeding cash. We have 8 days before the creditors file. 8 days, Ava. What creditors? My voice came out steady, even though my pulse hammered in my wrists. I sold my shares 4 months ago. $15 million went into escrow. The sale closed. I saw the transfer. Your shares. He said it like the words tasted rotten. You mean the shares my parents helped you build? The company my father's connections saved 3 times? Those shares? I stared at him. We'd been married for 6 years. I'd known him for 8. I'd started that company in a 200-square-foot office above a dry cleaner on Ashmont Avenue when I was 22. 2 years before I ever met Daniel Chen at a networking mixer where he spilled red wine on my portfolio binder. Your parents invested $50,000 in year 3, I said. I paid them back with 12% interest in year 5. We have the paperwork. Paperwork, Daniel laughed, sharp and ugly. You think paperwork means anything when family's involved? He pulled out his phone, jabbed at the screen. My mother's already talked to your mom. Eleanor understands the situation. She knows what needs to happen. Something cold dropped through my stomach. You called my mother? Someone had to. He turned the phone toward me. Text messages. My mother's number. She's willing to help. A $1.98 million bridge loan. We pay her back when the bankruptcy reorganization clears. Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now and what time is it there. I took the phone from Daniel's hand. Read the messages twice. The language was formal, stiff. Not how my mother texted. She used emojis. She signed off with, "Love you, little architect." These messages were short, clinical. When did you send these? I asked. Does it matter? Daniel snatched the phone back. The point is, she agreed. You just need to go see her today and sign the paperwork. My parents are meeting us at her place at 3 p.m. Your parents are meeting us at my mother's house. I repeated it slowly. To sign loan paperwork for a bankruptcy that doesn't exist. His face changed. Something tightened around his mouth. It exists, Ava. Just because you don't understand corporate finance. I ran a $40 million company for 10 years. My hands weren't shaking yet, but they would be. I understand corporate finance fine. What I don't understand is why you need my dying mother's money when I just deposited $15 million 4 months ago. That money's frozen! He shouted it. Actually shouted. The neighbor's dog started barking through the wall. The sale's being contested. Legal fees are eating everything. If we don't act now, show me the contest filing. Silence. The refrigerator hummed. Outside, a garbage truck beeped in reverse. Show me, I said again. The legal documents that say my sale is being contested. Daniel's jaw worked. Then he said the thing I'll remember until I die. You know what your problem is, Ava? You think you're smarter than everyone. But family takes care of family. That's what we do. That's what matters. Let me take you back 26 years, to a memory I've carried like a stone in my pocket ever since. I was 6 years old, sitting at my mother Eleanor's drafting table in her home office on Butterfield Lane. She was an architect, the kind who hand-drew blueprints even after CAD software existed, because she said buildings needed to feel the human hand in their bones. The room smelled like paper, and that specific ink she used, and there was always classical music playing low from the radio on the filing cabinet. She was working on a library renovation. I was coloring in the margins of her spare blueprint paper with markers, making what I called my buildings. Mine had impossible staircases and rooms that floated in the air. What's this one? She pointed to a purple tower with windows on the roof. That's where the princess lives when she doesn't want anyone to find her, I said. My mother set down her pencil, turned to me with this look I didn't understand then but understand now, the look of someone memorizing a moment because they know time is finite. Little architect, she said, I'm going to tell you something important. Can you remember it? I nodded, very serious. The people who love you will always find you, even in the highest tower. But the people who want to use you, they'll try to lock you in and throw away the key. The difference is, love builds you a door, control builds you a cage. She tapped my purple tower. Always know which one you're in. I didn't understand. I was 6, but I said okay, and she kissed my forehead, and we went back to drawing buildings that could never exist in the real world. 26 years later, I understood perfectly. That Thursday afternoon, I drove to my mother's house in Fairweather Hills. She'd been living there for 38 years, same pale yellow colonial with the magnolia tree in front that bloomed every April like clockwork. Now it was September, and the tree was just leaves. My mother was dying. Pancreatic cancer, stage 4, diagnosed 11 months ago. The doctors had given her 6 months. She'd made it to 11 through sheer stubbornness and what she called unfinished business. She was 64 years old and weighed 97 pounds and still insisted on making her own coffee every morning at 6 a.m. I let myself in with my key. Mom? Kitchen. Her voice was thinner than it used to be, but still hers. She was sitting at the table, the one we'd eaten 1,000 meals at. Crossword puzzle in front of her, reading glasses perched on her nose, mug of black coffee going cold at her elbow. She looked up when I came in, and her face did something complicated. Ava. She set down her pen. I was hoping you'd come before they did. Before who did? Sit down, little architect. She pushed out the chair across from her with her foot. We need to talk, and we don't have much time. They're coming at 3, right? My throat went dry. How did you know that? Because Daniel called me yesterday, and Brenda called me this morning, and Frank called me at noon. She folded her hands on the table, hands that used to draw impossible buildings, now thin and spotted with IV bruises. They all told me the same story. Your company sale is being contested. You're facing bankruptcy. You need $1.98 million immediately or you'll lose everything. It's not true, I said. None of it's true. The sale closed clean. I have the documentation. The money's in my account. I know. My mother's face was calm. Too calm. I called your lawyer. Marcus confirmed the sale went through without issue. $15 million minus taxes and fees deposited June 15th. He was very confused why I was asking. I sat down hard. Then why are they lying? She picked up her coffee mug, took a sip, made a face. Because they think I'm dying and desperate to help you before I go. Because they think I don't have the energy to fact-check. Because they assume a sick old woman will just sign whatever her daughter's family asks her to sign. The way she said it. Clinical. Like she was describing a building's structural flaws instead of her own family trying to steal from her. What do you want me to do? I asked. My mother looked at me for a long moment. Then she said, I want you to tell them I'm giving you the loan. What? When they get here at 3, I want you to act relieved. Grateful. I want you to sign the paperwork they bring. I want you to let them think they won. She reached across the table and gripped my hand. Hers was cold. And I want you to trust me. Can you do that? I didn't understand. But I'd spent 32 years learning that my mother Eleanor didn't do anything without a blueprint. So I said yes. At 2:58 p.m., Daniel's black Lexus pulled into the driveway. I watched from the living room window as he got out, then Frank, then Brenda, then, unexpectedly, Nikki, Daniel's younger sister, and a woman I didn't recognize. Blonde, mid-30s, designer handbag. My mother appeared beside me. She'd changed into a nicer sweater, put on lipstick. That's Rachel, she said quietly, Daniel's business partner. I had Chloe look into her. Chloe from the bodega. Chloe used to be a private investigator before she bought the store. My mother smoothed her hair. She's very thorough. Rachel's been transferring money out of D Corp for 8 months. Small amounts. $4,000 here, $7,000 there. It adds up to about $360,000. The doorbell rang. I don't remember walking to the door. I don't remember opening it. I just remember Brenda's face, all concern and sympathy, as she swept into the house like she owned it. Eleanor. Brenda took my mother's hands. You look wonderful. Doesn't she look wonderful, Frank? Frank grunted. He was a large man, expensive suit, the kind of person who took up space on purpose. Good to see you, Eleanor. Wish it was under better circumstances. Daniel kissed my mother's cheek. Nikki gave her a small wave. Rachel hung back, quiet. We all went to the dining room. My mother had set out tea, store-bought cookies. She played the part perfectly. Frail, grateful for company, a little confused about the details. Brenda ran the show. She had a folder. Inside the folder, loan documents, printed and tabbed. We've made it very simple, Brenda said, sliding the papers toward my mother. A standard bridge loan, $1.98 million, transferred to D Corp's operating account to cover the bankruptcy proceedings. Ava will pay you back within 18 months at 3% interest. And if she can't, my mother's voice was soft, then the repayment comes from her share of the estate. Brenda's smile didn't move. It's all spelled out in Section 4. Very standard. Frank's lawyer reviewed everything. I watched my mother read. She took her time, asked questions. What's D Corp? Daniel's restructuring company, Frank said. The loan goes there to keep everything clean for the bankruptcy court. I see. My mother turned to me. Ava, are you comfortable with this? I did what she'd told me to do. I looked relieved. If it helps, Mom, I don't want to lose everything I built. My mother smiled. It was a terrible smile. She picked up her pen and signed. The room exhaled. Thank you, Eleanor. Brenda gathered the papers like she was collecting a prize. You're saving this family. Ava's very lucky to have you. Yes, my mother said. She is. They left 20 minutes later. Hugs all around. Promises to visit more often. Daniel squeezed my hand on the way out and whispered, See? Family takes care of family. I watched them drive away. Then I turned to my mother. She was already pulling out her phone. Chloe's watching the bank. The second that $1.98 million transfers, she'll document where it goes. My guess? Not to any bankruptcy account. Probably to Rachel's personal holdings or an offshore account Frank set up. You're not actually giving them the money. I said it slowly. Oh, I'm absolutely giving them the money. My mother's smile was sharp. I'm giving them exactly enough rope to hang themselves. Now come on. We have work to do. Over the next 3 weeks, my mother didn't get sicker. She got strategic. She'd known about Daniel's affair with Rachel for 5 months. She'd known about the $360,000 in undocumented transfers for 3 months. She'd known about the in-laws' plan to force me into signing over my company sale proceeds for 6 weeks. What she hadn't known, what she'd needed to confirm, was whether they'd actually go through with stealing from a dying woman. Now she knew. They'll move fast, my mother said. We were in her office, surrounded by files. The loan was supposedly for bankruptcy proceedings, but Daniel's been telling his business associates you're the one who mismanaged funds. He's been laying groundwork for weeks. She showed me printed emails, social media screenshots. People are already starting to believe you tanked your own company, that you're desperate, that you're asking your dying mother for money because you're out of options. My face burned. Who's saying this? Nikki's been active on her mommy blog. My mother pulled up a post. Nothing actionable, just implications. Praying for family members going through financial hardship. Some people aren't built for business ownership. She tags Daniel's company. People make connections. I read the comments. Dozens of them. People I'd never met speculating about my failures. Something hardened in my chest. What do you need me to do? I asked. My mother looked at me the way she used to look at blueprints when she found a flaw in the foundation. I need you to keep living your life. Go to work. Be normal. Let them think they won. What are you going to do? I'm going to build us a door, little architect. She pulled out a legal pad, started sketching. And I'm going to make sure they lock themselves in the cage. I tried to keep living normally. It was harder than it sounds. The company I'd sold was called Meridian Solutions. I'd built it from nothing, just me and a laptop in 2013, doing freelance project management for tech startups that couldn't afford full-time staff. By year 3, I had 8 employees. By year 5, I had 40 employees and contracts with major firms across 3 states. By year 10, I had 120 employees, a headquarters in Portland, and offers from 3 different acquisition firms. I'd taken the best offer, sold my shares for $15 million, paid off my employees' profit-sharing agreements, walked away clean. Or so I thought. 2 weeks after the loan signing, I got a call from my former company's new CEO, a woman named Patricia Yu. Ava, I'm calling because something strange just landed on my desk. A claim that you siphoned funds before the sale? My stomach dropped. That's not true. I didn't think so. But it came with documentation. Transfers to something called D Corp. I need you to come in and clarify. I went in the next day, brought my own documentation. Sale contract, escrow account notifications, joint account statements showing exactly where every dollar went. Cash flow reports from my CFO showing clean books. Patricia spread it all out. This is airtight. Someone's trying very hard to make you look fraudulent. My husband, I said, and his family. Patricia looked up sharply. Your husband's trying to tank your reputation? My husband's trying to steal $15 million. My voice came out flat. And he's using your company as collateral damage. Patricia picked up her phone. I'm calling our legal team. This is defamation at minimum, fraud at maximum. She paused. Ava, do you have a lawyer? I did. Marcus Reeves, the attorney who'd handled my company sale. I called him from Patricia's office. I was wondering when you'd reach out, Marcus said. His voice was dry. I've gotten 3 inquiries this week about your financial irregularities. All anonymous. Can you trace them? Already did. 2 came from email addresses registered to D Corp. 1 came from a burner account, but the IP traces to your in-laws' home network. Pause. Ava, what's going on? I told him everything. The fake bankruptcy, the loan from my mother, the defamation campaign, Rachel's $360,000 in transfers. When I finished, Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then, your mother called me 2 weeks ago, asked me to prepare documentation of the sale, said she wanted everything airtight. She knew this was coming. She always knows, I said. She also told me not to act until she gave the signal. Marcus's voice changed. What signal am I waiting for, Ava? I don't know yet, I said. But when she's ready, you'll know. The public humiliation came on a Wednesday at 1:47 p.m. I was at Riverside Market buying groceries. Just normal things. Milk, bread, apples that weren't bruised. I was in the produce section, testing avocados for ripeness, when I heard Brenda's voice behind me. Ava! Bright, loud. What a coincidence! I turned. Brenda was there with 2 women I didn't recognize. Her tennis friends, probably. All 3 were dressed like they'd just come from brunch. Brenda. I put the avocado in my basket. I was just telling Linda and Susan about your situation. Brenda's hand went to her chest. It's so brave, how you're handling everything. The bankruptcy, the stress. Some people would just fall apart. The 2 women made sympathetic noises. Around us, other shoppers slowed down, started listening. There's no bankruptcy, I said. Calm, measured. Oh, sweetheart. Brenda's face did something that might have been pity. We know you have to say that, for legal reasons, but you don't have to pretend with me. We're family. I'm not pretending. I set down my basket. My company sale closed clean. $15 million. Marcus Reeves handled it. Patricia Yu can confirm. There is no bankruptcy. One of Brenda's friends, Linda, leaned in. Didn't you take a loan from your mother? My mother offered to help Daniel with a business expense. The lie came out smooth. That's different. Business expense. Brenda's laugh was sharp. Is that what we're calling it? Ava, honey, it's okay to admit when things get hard. No one's judging you. We just want you to get the help you need. She said it kindly. She said it in front of 11 witnesses. She said it like she was offering comfort instead of bearing a knife. Something clicked inside me. Not rage, not hurt. Something colder. You're right, I said. I should get help. I smiled at her. Thank you, Brenda. I'll call my lawyer today. Her face flickered, just for a second. Then the smile came back. Of course, dear. That's probably wise. Lawyers can sort out all these messy financial things. I picked up my basket, left the avocados, walked to the checkout line while 11 people watched and whispered. In my car, I sat for 20 minutes, hands on the steering wheel, breathing steady. Then I drove to my mother's house. She was waiting on the porch. Chloe called, said she saw Brenda cornering you at the market. How bad? Bad. I climbed the steps. She basically announced to everyone that I'm bankrupt and desperate. Good. My mother stood up. Come inside. I have something to show you. In her office, she'd built what looked like a war room, timeline on the wall, documents in labeled folders, a spreadsheet tracking every transaction Daniel and his family had made in the last 8 months. The $1.98 million went to Rachel's account, my mother said. From there, it split into 3 offshore holdings. Frank's name is on all of them. They're planning to file for divorce on your behalf in 2 weeks. Daniel already has the paperwork drafted. The settlement they're proposing gives you $200,000 and a gag order. I stared at the timeline. How do you know about the divorce filing? Frank's assistant is Chloe's niece. My mother pointed to a name on the spreadsheet. She's been photographing documents for 3 weeks. Very thorough girl. Thinking about law school. Mom! I sat down. What are we doing? What's the end game here? My mother pulled out a folder, handed it to me. Open it. Inside, a handwritten letter. My mother's handwriting, sealed in a clear protective sleeve. Don't read it yet, she said. That's for later. But I need you to know, everything I've done, everything I'm about to do, it's already arranged. Marcus knows, Chloe knows, my friend from the DA's office knows. Your former colleagues at Meridian know. Know what? That I predicted every move they'd make. My mother's voice was soft. Because people who see you as a resource instead of a person, they're predictable, little architect. They follow patterns, and patterns can be mapped. She pulled out a blueprint. Actual blueprint paper, the kind she used to use for buildings, but this one showed something else, a flowchart of decisions, actions and reactions. If they do X, we do Y. If they do A, we do B. I've been designing this for 6 months, she said. Ever since I realized Daniel was planning to take everything you built. I looked at the blueprint, looked at my mother. Why didn't you tell me? Because you needed to react naturally. If you knew what I was planning, they'd see it in your face. You're terrible at lying, Ava. You always have been. She smiled. You get that from me. 3 days later, I found the envelope. I was at my mother's house, helping her sort through old papers. She'd been getting rid of things, slowly. Making it easier for later, she said, which meant making it easier for after I'm gone. I was in her bedroom closet, boxing up shoes she'd never wear again, when I found a shoebox on the top shelf. It was taped shut. My name was written on the lid in silver Sharpie. Mom? I carried it downstairs. What's this? She looked up from her crossword puzzle. Something passed over her face. Recognition, sadness, relief. I was wondering when you'd find that. Open it. Inside the shoebox, documents, a flash drive, and a sealed letter with my name on it in my mother's handwriting. The letter said, "Don't read until Eleanor tells you to." "Not yet," my mother said, seeing my hand move toward it. "Soon, but not yet." "What's on the flash drive?" "Voicemails," she said. "From Daniel, from Brenda, from Frank, from the last 8 months. They thought I was too sick to understand what they were asking. They were wrong." I plugged the flash drive into her laptop, opened the folder. 47 audio files, all labeled with dates and names. I clicked on one at random. Brenda's voice, honey sweet. "Eleanor, I know this is hard to talk about, but we need to think about Ava's future. If something happens to you, she'll need family support. We're prepared to help manage her inheritance, for her own good." Another file. Daniel. "We're just thinking ahead, Eleanor. You wouldn't want Ava making poor decisions with the money. My parents have experience with trust management. It's the smart move." Another. Frank. "The company sale was reckless. Ava doesn't understand wealth preservation. We can fix this if you're willing to restructure the estate planning before it's too late." I listened to all 47 files, each one more calculated than the last. "They've been planning this since your diagnosis," I said. "Before that." My mother closed her laptop. "They started asking about my estate the week I told Daniel we needed to update my will. That was 9 months ago, before the cancer diagnosis, before the sale. They've been waiting for an opportunity." "What are we waiting for?" My mother checked her watch. 4 more days, then we spring the trap." 4 days later, on a Monday morning, Daniel filed for divorce. The papers were delivered to my apartment at 8:23 a.m. by a process server who looked uncomfortable about the whole thing. "Sorry," he muttered. "Just doing my job." I read the filing. The settlement offer was worse than my mother had predicted. $150,000, not $200,000, and a clause that said I'd waive all claims to Daniel's business assets, which technically included the $15 million from my company sale, since we'd been married when I sold it. I called my mother. They filed. "I know. Marcus got a courtesy copy an hour ago." She sounded tired. "He's already drafting the response. But Ava, before we file back, I need you to do something." "What?" "I need you to come to my house this Friday at 2 p.m. Wear something nice. Bring the shoebox. And trust me one more time." Friday, 2 days away. "Who else is going to be there, eh?" I asked. "Everyone," my mother said. "And that's when we end this." Friday came. I wore a gray dress, professional but not formal. Drove to my mother's house at 1:45 p.m., parked behind Marcus Reeves's Mercedes. Marcus met me at the door. "Your mother's having a good day. Clear, sharp. This is going to work." "What exactly is this?" He smiled. "You'll see. Come on." They're in the dining room. They. My stomach tightened. I walked into the dining room and stopped. The table was set for 8. My mother sat at the head, wearing her good pearls. To her right, Marcus. To her left, Chloe from the bodega, looking professional in a blazer. Across from them, Daniel, Brenda, Frank, and Nikki. All 4 of them looked confused. "Ava," my mother gestured to the empty chair beside Marcus. "Sit down, little architect. We're about to have a very important conversation." Daniel stood up. "What is this?" "Eleanor, you said this was about finalizing the loan repayment." "Sit down, Daniel." My mother's voice was ice. "We'll get to the loan in a moment." He sat. My mother folded her hands on the table. "I've asked you all here today because I want to clear up some confusion. It seems there's been a misunderstanding about my daughter's financial situation." Brenda jumped in, all sympathy. "Eleanor, we know this is hard to discuss, but Ava's bankruptcy—" "There is no bankruptcy." Marcus pulled a folder from his briefcase. "Ava's company sale closed cleanly on June 15th. $15 million transferred to her personal account. I have the documentation here. Sale contract, escrow notifications, bank statements, cash flow reports from Meridian Solutions CFO." He spread the papers across the table. Frank's face reddened. This doesn't change the fact that she took a loan from Eleanor. For Daniel's business expenses, my mother interrupted. Except Daniel's business doesn't have any expenses that require $1.98 million, does it, Daniel? Silence. In fact, my mother continued, Daniel's business, D Corp, received exactly $360,000 in undocumented transfers over the last 8 months from a woman named Rachel, who is, Daniel, help me out here, your business partner or your mistress? The color drained from Daniel's face. Nikki's mouth fell open. Brenda gripped the table. The $1.98 million loan I gave you, my mother said, voice calm and surgical, was transferred to Rachel's personal account within 48 hours. From there, it was split into 3 offshore holdings registered in Frank's name. She nodded to Chloe. Show them. Chloe pulled out a tablet, turned it around. Bank transfer records, screenshots, account numbers. These are private, Frank started. These are evidence, Marcus cut him off, of fraud, misappropriation of funds, and conspiracy to defraud. My mother picked up a USB drive from beside her plate. I also have 47 voicemails from the 4 of you, recorded over the last 9 months. Discussions about managing my estate, managing Ava's inheritance, managing my will revisions, all recorded while I was supposedly too sick to understand what you were really asking. She pressed play on her laptop. Brenda's voice filled the room. Just thinking ahead, Eleanor. You wouldn't want Ava making poor decisions. My mother stopped the playback. Would you like to hear more? I have 46 additional files. They get progressively more explicit about your plans. Brenda's face was chalk white. You were recording us? I was documenting family conversations. My mother's smile was thin. For my own records, there's no law against recording calls when you're a participant. Daniel found his voice. Mom, this is insane. We were trying to help. Help, my mother cut him off. Is that what you call filing for divorce 2 days ago? Is that what you call the settlement offer that gives Ava $150,000 from her own $15 million company sale? She pulled out the divorce papers, slid them across the table. Or is Help the defamation campaign, the anonymous emails to Ava's former company, the social media posts implying she's financially incompetent? My mother looked at Nikki. Your mommy blog has been very active. Nikki's hands shook. I didn't mean. You meant exactly what you wrote. My mother's voice was steel. You all did. You saw my cancer diagnosis as an opportunity. You saw Ava's company sale as a resource to extract. You thought a dying woman would sign anything to help her daughter. She stood up. The room went silent. You were wrong. My mother pulled out a final document, set it in the center of the table. This is the original loan agreement you had me sign. The one that says if Ava can't repay, the debt comes from her share of my estate. She pulled out a lighter, flicked it on, and burned the contract. There is no loan, she said, as the paper curled and blackened on a ceramic plate. There was never a loan. There was only a test, and you all failed. Marcus stood. Eleanor's estate attorney filed an updated will yesterday. It reflects the truth. Ava is the sole beneficiary. None of you are mentioned. Additionally, Eleanor has authorized me to pursue fraud charges against Daniel Chen, Frank Chen, Brenda Chen, and Rachel Morrison for the misappropriation of $1.98 million. You can't, Frank's voice cracked. That money was a loan. That money was a wire transfer made under false pretenses. Marcus's voice was clinical. You claimed bankruptcy proceedings. There were no bankruptcy proceedings. You transferred the funds to an offshore account. That's fraud. The DA's office has already opened a case file. Brenda turned to me, eyes desperate. Ava, please. We're family. We support each other in hard times. You support each other when it's convenient. My mother's voice cut across the table. The second it cost you something, you planned divorce and asset separation. Chloe? Chloe pulled out a folder. I photographed these in Frank's office 3 weeks ago. Draft divorce papers dated before the loan was even signed. Settlement terms giving Ava minimal assets. A timeline for filing that said, and I quote, "Get the money first, then we'll see." She laid the photographs on the table. Frank's face went purple. "You broke into my office. Your assistant photographed publicly visible documents on your desk." Chloe's voice was matter of fact. "No break-in required, just observation." My mother sat back down. "I want to be very clear about what happens next. Marcus will file the fraud charges. The DA will pursue them. The offshore accounts will be frozen. Any remaining funds will be returned to me, and then to Ava, as per my will." She looked at Daniel. "You will withdraw the divorce filing. You will sign a settlement that gives Ava everything she's entitled to, which is everything, because she earned it. And you will never contact her again." Daniel's jaw worked. "And if I don't?" "Then I authorize Marcus to release every voicemail, every document, every photograph, to the press, to your business partners, to the bar association that certified your father's firm." My mother leaned forward. "Your choice, Daniel. Clean exit or total destruction." 30 seconds of silence. Then Daniel stood, walked out, didn't look back. Brenda followed. Then Frank, then Nikki crying. The door slammed. I sat frozen. My mother reached across the table, took my hand. "Little architect," she said softly. "You can breathe now. It's over." 3 weeks later, I received an envelope from Marcus's office. Inside, signed settlement papers. Daniel had withdrawn the divorce filing, agreed to a clean separation, all assets divided according to premarital ownership, which meant everything was mine. Also inside, a death certificate for Eleanor Hastings, my mother, dated 2 days after the confrontation. She'd held on just long enough to see me safe. The funeral was small. I'd wanted it that way. Chloe came. Marcus came. Patricia Yu from Meridian came. Some of my mother's architect friends. Her favorite nurse from hospice. Daniel and his family did not come. After the service, Marcus handed me another envelope. "She asked me to give you this after everything was settled." I knew what it was. The letter from the shoebox. I waited until I was home to read it. My apartment, my new apartment, the one I'd moved into after the divorce finalized, was quiet. I made tea, sat by the window, opened the envelope. "Dear Ava, if you're reading this, then I'm gone, and Daniel is already doing what I knew he would do. I'm sorry I couldn't stop this while I was alive. I tried, but men like Daniel don't hear reason. They only hear documents. Do you remember the purple tower you drew when you were 6? You said it was where the princess went when she didn't want anyone to find her. I told you that love builds you a door and control builds you a cage. I meant it. The original loan agreement is void. I burned it in front of witnesses. But I've made sure you're protected. Marcus Reeves has the complete documentation, your company sale records, the fraud evidence against Daniel and his family, witness statements from Chloe and your colleagues at Meridian, and recordings of every conversation where the Chens discussed managing your inheritance. Inside this envelope, you'll also find the original deed to this house on Butterfield Lane. It's yours now, free and clear. Account information for a fund I set up 15 years ago in your name, $340,000, growing at 6% annually. Letters from 3 of my oldest friends who knew what Daniel was and said nothing. They're ashamed now, and they've offered to testify if needed. A list of every defamatory statement Nikki posted online, with screenshots and dates. Bank statements showing where the $1.98 million actually went. You are not a resource to be managed, Ava. You are not a problem to be solved. You are my daughter, my little architect, the girl who drew buildings with impossible staircases because you believed anything was possible. You were right. All my love, Mom. P.S. The magnolia tree blooms in April. I always told you that. What I didn't tell you is that I planted it the day you were born. It's 32 years old now, same as you. It's stronger than it looks. I read the letter 3 times. Then I called Marcus. Did she really plan all of this? I asked. Every detail. His voice was warm. She started 6 months after the cancer diagnosis, said she needed to make sure you'd be safe, that you'd know the truth. She knew Daniel would file for divorce. She predicted it within a 2-week window. She was off by 3 days. He paused. Your mother was extraordinary, Ava. I've been practicing law for 30 years. I've never seen anyone architect their own daughter's protection with that level of precision. After we hung up, I sat with the letter for a long time. Outside, it started to rain. Inside, I was warm, safe, free. 6 months later, I started my own firm. Not project management this time, consulting, helping women entrepreneurs build solid financial foundations, protect their assets, document everything. I called it Magnolia Consulting. The logo was a tree. My office was small, just me and 2 associates, in a building on Northwest 23rd Avenue. We specialized in what I called blueprint protection, creating legal and financial structures that couldn't be dismantled by bad faith actors. Our first client was a woman named Teresa, whose ex-husband was trying to claim half her inheritance. We built her a door. She walked through it. Our 20th client was a woman whose in-laws were pressuring her to sign over her business. We showed her the cage. She avoided it. By month 6, we had 40 clients. By month 12, we had a waiting list. I kept my mother's letter framed on my desk. Not the whole thing, just the PS about the magnolia tree. Every April, I drove to Butterfield Lane. The house was mine now, but I hadn't moved in. Couldn't yet. Too many memories, but I kept the tree maintained, watered it during dry spells, trimmed the dead branches. This April, it bloomed more than it ever had. Thick clusters of white and pink petals that smelled like hope. I stood under it and thought about my mother, about how she'd spent her last months building me a door, about how she'd known, really known, that love doesn't lock you out. Love drives 200 miles in a snowstorm. Love builds blueprints. Love documents everything. If you're watching this, I want you to know something. The people who try to make you smaller aren't doing it because you're too big. They're doing it because they're afraid you'll realize your own size. You don't need anyone's permission to protect yourself. You don't need anyone's approval to document the truth. You don't need anyone's forgiveness to walk through the door someone built for you. My mother gave me a door. I walked through it. If someone in your life has built you a cage instead of a door, if they've asked you to make yourself smaller, to hand over what you've earned, to apologize for taking up space, I want you to type, "I see the cage" in the comments. Or if you've already walked through the door someone built for you, type, "I walked through." Both are acts of courage. Both matter. If this story meant something to you, check the description for more stories just like this one. Thank you for being here. And if you're standing in front of a door right now wondering if you're allowed to walk through it, you are. You always were.